Good morning on the West Coast and good afternoon on the East Coast. Today is July 21st and we are smack in the middle of the dog days of summer, folks. I'm John Yarrington, CEO of the Performance Driven Marketing Institute, a 501c6 not-for-profit trade association dedicated to protecting, promoting, and advancing the direct-to-consumer and direct response advertising industries. And on behalf of the entire PDMI family, it's my pleasure to welcome you to yet another fun-filled and exciting episode of the PDMI Take 20. As a reminder, the PDMI Take 20 is a quick-hitting roundtable discussion led by industry experts on trending topics, all in 20 minutes or less. And today, we'll be talking about building e-commerce stores that convert. However, before we get started, please allow me to do a little housekeeping. If you'd like to ask questions, and we encourage you to do so, please use the questions tab located in the control panel. And please know you're welcome to ask questions throughout today's conversation. However, we will be holding all answers and responses to the questions until the end of the discussion. Alrighty, with that shared, it's time for me to announce today's moderator. If direct marketing was an Olympic sport, he'd be a gold medalist, the fearless Chris Foster. Chris is the Vice President of New Business at Modern Postcard, a direct marketing agency located in Carlsbad, California. In addition to his day job, Chris teaches brand strategy at UCSD Extension courses, and he's the chairperson of the PDMI's Brand Response Council. As always, Chris, thank you for being here with us today. Please take it away and do your thing.
Excellent. Thanks so much, John, for the introduction. Welcome, Chris, and welcome, everybody. Happy summer to you all. I hope you're finding some time not only for some great business, but also for some vacation, because we can finally maybe take some here and there. So we're going to jump into today, building e-commerce stores that convert. So with 98% of website visitors leaving without buying, and multiple website brands serving almost any kind of product, competition has never been fiercer when it comes to attracting and converting your website traffic. There's more supply than there is demand, and the searching on Amazon makes any e-commerce site have to work smarter and faster to get their new customers. The key, of course, is building the right kind of store that connects the right kind of products with the right kind of customer, and to move that customer to know, like, trust, and hopefully buy. So this Take 20 is a very much boots on the ground, carry the bag, hands-on, roll up the sleeve session, and talk about how to make this happen in 2021 and beyond. And there's no better guest than we could have to break down all the changes, new techniques, and tried and true best practices than Chris Snyder. Chris Snyder is from Shopify. Have you guys heard of Shopify? I'm sure, of course you have. They've grown exponentially in the last couple of years because they know what's happening when it comes to e-commerce for the existing, the small business, mid-market, and larger brands now that are moving onto the platform. So Chris Snyder, welcome to Take 20.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here.
It's wonderful having you. And I've got a couple of questions that we're going to kind of roll through, but then afterwards, of course, we're going to take the conversation and flow it based on what you're talking about. So the first question that I have is, with all the interactions you're having with merchants and all the various types of success stories that are coming in, now especially summer of 2021, what is a clear and a salient trend that you're seeing with some of these best performing e-commerce sites?
Yeah. I mean, we're really in the heyday of storytelling, right? I mean, TikTok's dedicated to it. You turn on YouTube and bloggers and all that. And what we're really seeing are brands that are able to convey that story throughout their funnel, not just at top of funnel on Instagram and TikTok and things, but really as customers move through the funnel across their website, their product pages. And we're seeing stats like your About Us page becoming the third and second, third, fourth most clicked on link on websites. And that's for a reason. People are trying to figure out, what's this brand all about? Who am I supporting? What do they do? Why are they here? Why should I give a damn about them? And that's a pretty interesting take, because several years ago we didn't care, right? We clicked on a link and we bought a product, but now people are buying a brand. And so that what we're seeing is these brands that are able to tell that story and convey that story, really that unique selling proposition, basic 101 stuff, and carry that out through that whole process. They're the ones that are converting. When you get on that product page and you're able to explain why that product is going to benefit you and your life, rather than just hit you with some sales pitch and hit you with some features, those are the ones that are converting.
Oh, I love it. That's a gem of an insight. I'll tell you where it really strikes home for me. So last week I do a webinar called Storytelling for Business, right, for Modern Coast Guard and stuff like that. And one of the stats that I throw out is that 68% of Generation Z will support a brand that align with their causes, and they will take that business elsewhere. So this actually moves it in. So talk to me about the swell of Generation Z being the largest consumer group and what that means for some of these benchmarks of storytelling.
Well, they're changing the game a bit. And unfortunately, I think some of the legacy brands, they're a little bit stuck in the way they've always done things. And, they're just starting to catch up a little bit. They're still thinking, well, maybe we should dive into the storytelling game. Maybe we should try Instagram stories. Maybe we should think about a TikTok but then you go on their websites and it's pretty much the same format, right? You got a hero image, you got the, collection at the bottom. Maybe in there somewhere, there's a little mission statement or something. They really haven't considered that society is changing and culture is changing and the way consumers are shopping, and all these things are changing. Part of this is driven by Generation Z, part of this is driven by omni-channel and this younger generation being able to use their cell phones and being able to use multiple channels across these shopping trends. But Generation Z is changing the game. They're able to interact with a brand on Instagram, on TikTok, on a website. They're craving authenticity. They're craving things that are, not so much polished. They're not really looking for that high-end, shiny, polished, hyper-driven, something that is high production. They just want something that's real, that they can see and they can relate to, and it resonates with them. That's the copy. That's it's branding basics, right? We do it all the time. We speak to 70-year-olds differently than 10-year-olds, and I think brands that can really look at their websites and understand who their target audience is and how to speak to them and have lifestyle photography and all of these basics in place that resonate with that audience, they're the ones that are going to win in this game. And Generation Z is the one that's really driving that. There's no more middle ground where it's going to be vanilla. We're going to be all things to all people. And if you're targeting that audience, you got to hit that nail on the head. You got to be real and authentic, or they're going to call your bluff quick.
Right. It's so funny. On one of my slides, Chris, I said, Generation Z, blah, blah, blah. And the next slide, I say, and they can spot bullshit, right? They can spot it, right? They know it when they see it. I didn't think that our conversation was going to take this turn, but I think this is wonderful because some of the things that I teach in the branding class that I teach is the authentic brand connection with the audience, right? Mm-hmm. And that any brand, I say you don't have to be a big brand to be a great brand, right? Small brands, small Shopify brands, small Shopify sites can be a fantastic brand. One of my favorite brands, it's a local company, and they're called Dapper Boy. And what Dapper Boy does, they are on the Shopify platform. Not a plug for Shopify, but they just happen to be on Shopify because it works for them, right? But what Dapper Boy does is they make clothing for, I should not say transgender, but it's really designed for the LGBTQ community to try to find clothes that actually fit them well. So the owner CEO, Vicky Pash, is a woman who was looking for masculine-looking clothes, but in a feminine fit. She couldn't find it anywhere, right? She had to go to big and tall stores, and all these things fit terribly, and she's like, I'm not the only one with this problem. And so what you were saying is an authentic audience, an authentic message that connects the brand to that audience is the key to success.
Yeah, agreed. The challenge is how to communicate it. I mean, top of funnel marketing is one thing across your social media and your multiple outlets, but however you get someone to your site, when they land on that website, you have 3 seconds or so to communicate that brand, that unique selling proposition, to connect to that target audience before they bounce out. Right. And that's challenging. I mean, and it gets harder and harder, especially on mobile phones, where that visual space is that real estate is so valuable and so small. How do you communicate that in such a small space? It becomes increasingly challenging, especially when we're used to now storytelling on a TikTok or a YouTube, where we're looking at content, use times are longer, we're spending more time there absorbing it, and now suddenly I got to make a decision in 3 seconds on, is this for me? Do I like it? Does this feel right? Or am I just going to leave?
So I love that, because one of the questions that I set up in the beginning was, the importance of a smooth mobile experience. And I guess what you're saying is that it's mission critical.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can overstate how important it is. I think anyone, first of all, that isn't building for mobile and hasn't considered that mobile experience is really missing the boat. But sadly, I would guess that probably the vast majority of small business owners have probably never gone on their mobile device and gone into their business as a customer and gone all the way through a checkout on a mobile device. They built the store on their laptop or whatever, and they manage it on their laptop, and that's what we do. But how many of them have actually gone through the checkout as a customer and seen how that works and how the checkout looks and how it feels, and how long is your homepage? How many times does it take to scroll through that damn thing on a small mobile device? We just don't do that because we get so caught up on what we do. We get into our own rhythm and our own pattern that we forget how customers are really shopping in our store. And 60-70% of them are using a mobile device every day.
I love that. So is one of the recommendations that we can give to our audience is that when, especially in the direct-to-consumer space, and I'm asking if this is fair or not, is that when they design their site, they design for mobile first?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely it is. But I think more importantly, throughout your experience, we're adding apps, we're making changes, we're constantly updating things on our websites. And I think periodically, whether it's monthly, quarterly, weekly, you're going into your site and you're trying to look at it through a customer's eyes, as however a customer is entering your site, right? Use your data. Are they coming through it through TikTok or through Instagram or through Facebook or through a Google, SEO kind of positioning, and on a mobile device or a tablet or whatever, and really trying to have fresh eyes, see your business as the customer sees it. Sometimes people are surprised that there's a weird pop-up that blocks part of the add to cart button, or that add to cart, that cool font that they thought was so beautiful, pretty damn hard to read on a mobile device, and so it's affecting their conversions, right? No one can add to cart because they can't read it. It's a silver font on a white background. It's tough to read. Yeah. We just don't see it that way as owners sometimes.
That's interesting. So you've mentioned now TikTok, Instagram stories as several times as kind of these new storytelling devices. What would your advice be for carrying some of that content onto the homepage, like you said? Is it a feed? Is it an image? Is it a link back to another video, perhaps? How do you see a small business person doing that?
Well, first of all, comes understanding your target audience and who they are, and and where they're going to live at and things like that. There's no one answer for all brands. And I think that's really important for everyone to understand, is that your target audience is going to dictate how that's all going to work for you. Your target audience may not be a TikTok audience, and that's perfectly okay. And you may be in a position where you're fairly new to the game and you're just getting your SEO game in place and you're just getting your organic marketing in place, and you're still ramping up your Instagram and Facebook stuff. Hey, that's cool. That should be the priority. But if you are a little further down the road and you have a very clear and well-defined target audience, then yeah, I think taking a look at your website and understanding how people will engage with that is really interesting. Using things like heat maps, hot jars and things like that of the world are an interesting resource to understand how people are engaging with your site. But more importantly, I think having some of those things both ways, having a video, having some kind of engaging content directly on your homepage, it's an interesting thing to try. Now, try it and check the analytics and check the data first. Make sure you're not doing anything negative, and if you get a negative result, obviously take a step back. But also, do some links. Link it to a YouTube page, link it to a video file, link it to something else, and recycle that content. If you're making videos, don't think that it has to only live on your website, and you can't use that as Instagram stories, and you can't have that on Facebook, and you can't have that on other places. We're all pressed for time. All small business owners are stressed. So whatever content you're creating, you should be thinking about, how can I re-edit this or repurpose this and chop this up maybe and put a segment on here. Can I use this as an Instagram story? Can I put a little clip of this as a teaser on Facebook? Can I use this as an intro for a blog? Like, what else can I do with this content to help convey that message? The best brands, I think, are conveying their stories at every touch point. And if you have that owner video where you're kind of explaining why I got into this business, that's something really valuable to have at every touch point in some fashion or another.
I love that. And I think that that's a really nice insight, Chris, about telling the personal story, especially if you're a small business. people want to see who they're buying from, and they want to learn the story and the inspiration of the folks. So there was a brand that I was not aware of until I do my class. One of the things I do is my students do a tour of brands. So they do a tour of the brands that they love. So I get to learn about these brands I never heard about. So one brand, right? So one brand is called Cocoa Kind. Don't know if you've heard about them.
Yeah.
So Cocoa Kind does these organic, really fresh, all organic material cosmetic lines, right? But also very inexpensive. And the only photos they use are photos of their real people customers. And they've got, they've got acne and just normal blemishes like a normal human being would, but they're just real folks. And so the owner founder is all over the place throughout the site, right? She's writing messages, she's talking about her story. She says, I had some skin allergies, and then I looked at all these advertising, and I didn't look like them, I looked like me, and so that's what I wanted to do with mine. And it's a really authentic engagement with her audience.
I think one of the questions that comes up a lot is, how does a small business, especially one starting out, kind of an unknown brand, how do we compete with like the Amazons of the world with logistics and shipping and some of that? And of course, it's really tough. You almost can't, right? But you do have a secret weapon. I mean, as a small business owner, you are that own weapon. Just to your point, you're able to engage with your audience. You're able to use a chat feature and talk to them direct, make videos direct, and engage them in the way that the Amazon of the world could never hope to do. I just don't think it's leveraged enough, as I don't think owners leverage that nearly enough.
So it's interesting because they might not think that it's worth it from a revenue standpoint. They say, gosh, I need to make money, not make a video. However, I would argue what you're saying is by making that video, you're going to increase conversion.
Yeah, I mean, engagement equals conversion. I think they look at it as, I need to drive sales, but realistically, sales has always been about people. And I think e-commerce gets in the way of that. We think it's going to be somehow the equation changes, but at the end of the day, it's still just about people, right? It's about making relationships and engaging people with your brand and all of that kind of thing. And when you look at that marketing funnel, it doesn't really change in person or anything else. It's just some of the parts kind of change in terms of product pages or front doors or whatever, but it's the same damn thing. It's relationships and
I love it. I love it. I love that phrase. Engagement equals conversion, and don't let e-commerce get in the way of the people aspect of your sales. Brilliant.
Yep.
I think a lot of people like that.
Tech is here to help. It's not really here to kind of get in the way or make any kind of barriers. It should remove barriers.
That's right. It should remove barriers. I like it. It should remove the people barriers. That's right. Well, that's fantastic. Johnny, hopefully got some questions from the audience. Chris, that was wonderful.
Hey guys, good job. Yeah, no doubt. Some great questions coming in here from the audience. A couple of technical ones, some fun ones. Let me go ahead and start here. I'm gonna start with an Amazon one for you. Are there a few key things that a merchant can do to optimize sales on their own company's website, yet congruently embrace Amazon and their 100 million daily visitors for their marketplace?
It's tough, right? I mean, Amazon, it's like being in a shop. I look at it like being in a shopping mall. Amazon, you got the built-in foot traffic, but you're paying the mall rents and you're kind of following the mall rules, and there's pros and cons to it versus having your own shop on the corner of Main Street and Main Street.
Right.
My answer is that Amazon is great for some brands. It's not great for everyone. If Amazon's working for you, then have both. Just as much as possible, have an omnichannel strategy so that all that data is, you don't get a lot of data from Amazon, let's be honest, but at least you are, have that omnichannel strategy in place so that you are able to keep track of sales, keep track of data, keep track of best sellers, keep track of inventory movement. And so you do have an understanding of these things across both channels.
Cool, good feedback. Thank you, Chris. Here's another one for you. It's a bit on the different age brackets in the country in terms of consumer behavior. Since a huge portion of the country's wealth is in the hands of boomers, what are a couple of really good tips you could offer a merchant on how to create an authentic connection with this age group? Sorry, I butchered that sentence.
Yeah. I find I'm 47, so I'm not that far removed here, but I find this to be one of the most challenging age groups to really work with because they don't really own a certain language or a certain slang or a certain culture or a certain vibe the way like a Gen Z does. right? Gen Z is relatively easy to kind of identify in terms of slang and culture and what they lean into. But when you start talking about that specific group of people, not only is the income great, I mean, you have these, really, really wealthy, and you have very, very middle class, and you have certainly people who are struggling in that same group, so they can't all be lumped in the same and treated the same. But I think it is a little bit of a more centric approach. Extremes don't really work. If you have a hipster kind of person in a fur coat on the beach on roller skates with piercings and face tattoos, yeah, that's probably not going to be an image that audience is going to resonate with. Conversely, going the other way and having black and white photos and very prim and proper business tone is probably going to seem not hip enough, because they are still wanting to be relevant, still wanting to be part of the equation, just they don't want to reach the big extremes. I'm very much the same way. I look at a TikTok and I'm like, is that kind of a young kids thing? Do I really want to get into TikTok? Like, I'm 47. Should I even be there? It just seems weird to me. But at the end of the day, we all want to be relevant, and we all want to be included, and we all want to feel that we know what's going on. So it is more of a centric approach of staying, keeping things hip enough that you feel included, you feel that it's current, but not to the extreme where suddenly you feel like, whoa, okay, that's just weird, and that's not my cup of tea at all.
Yeah, I love that. That's great insight, and I think also too, there's a different element of a trust factor when it comes to boomers versus the younger generations, right? Older generations are a little bit more skeptical, and they want to feel more comfortable and confident with the brand they're going towards. It's one of the reasons I think why Martha Stewart's CBD launches are so important, right? When Martha Stewart decided to launch that through Canopy, she's a trusted brand, and she is an entire generation of possible consumers who would not try CBD were it not for Martha Stewart's stamp of approval and her curating those CBD products.
Yeah.
So there's a trust element that's there. I also think too, and I keep banging this drum, it's just I think really important for us to remember. Generation Z, like Chris was talking about, is they've got an understanding of who they want to support from their brand. They will be the largest consumer group in 2025, period. They will be, right? Yeah. And that's like, gosh, it feels like it's 2 weeks away, right? So really understanding that group, and while the boomers have a lot of purchase power now, it's nothing compared to what Gen Z is going to lay on to us in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I agree. It is about building towards the future. That being said, if you have a product that targets someone, specifically in that group right now, it always comes back to basics, right? Understanding that audience, what their lifestyle is like. I find luxury brands are really, really more challenging than almost anything else. I think they're really incredibly difficult to market. They're tough to figure out target audience and where they live and what they use, because they use social media differently and they interact differently and their expectations are different. And you're talking about expensive items, so trust is different. Website builds are different. Everything, all the rules go out the window with luxury brands.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's really good feedback on that question. Thank you. Here's a technical one for you that came through. What is an acceptable load speed for a transactional website to avoid balances? And is there a difference in consumer response to load speeds when using a desktop versus a mobile device?
I'm a bit of a I guess a realist with load speeds, right? For me, first of all, I get people all the time who come to me and they're not panicked over load speeds. And you look and you go, to my eye, it loads just fine. On your mobile device, everything else, it loads fine. So first of all, pump the brakes. There's no reason to panic, right? In terms of SEO and things, yeah, obviously there's something we want to look at. But in terms of the thing you need to focus on the most in your life right now, to your customer, it's working fine. So let's keep that in perspective. But in terms of acceptable load times, I don't really have a good metric in place. I don't know if you do, Chris, but I don't have a good metric that is, an industry benchmark for mobile or desktop. It does vary greatly across, devices and Wi-Fi signals and types of speeds and types of devices. It does vary quite a bit on a lot of things.
It's so funny because I was going to be like, he's our technical expert on this, but I guess the only thing that I can say to support, Chris, what you were saying is, if you have an intentional visitor and your website loads like 30 milliseconds slower than a competitor, a user's going to intentionally go to your site and they're there. If you're at a commoditized type of product and your load speed is substantially slow, so that the user's like, oh, I'm bored, and I've got, I did a Google search and I've got about 18 brands who do the exact same product, then yeah, that could be an issue. But to Chris's point, if, for example, one of my beloved love marks is Vibrams. It's the 5-fingered shoes, right? I love them. Next time I go buy a Vibrams, if their load time is like 2 or 3 seconds longer, I'll wait.
Yeah.
I'll wait, because that's my destination. That's what I want to go to. So I think that it's an interesting question. I don't have an answer for it, but to Chris's point, of all the things a Shopify e-commerce brand has to worry about for conversion, I'm not sure that load speed is at the top.
Yeah, I mean, Lighthouse is a great Chrome extension to add. It's a free Chrome extension. It'll give you a score. The interesting thing about it, and the reason I suggest this one, is you can actually go look at your competition's websites as well. So, for example, you might look at Nike and see Nike was a 17 in terms of page loading speed. Now, if they're a 17, and obviously they're not too damn worried about it, I don't know that I need to be terribly worried about it as well at the moment, right? I mean, they got a whole lot more money and resources than I do to put into my little websites. So, I kind of keep things in perspective. With that being said, it'll also give you some pretty easy things to fix. A lot of times it's just fragments of code that are unresolved and you can go and delete them, not a big deal. It's a couple of images that need optimized. Sometimes there's an app conflict or something small like that. But generally speaking, I think you can research industry benchmarks, but always give that customer test. What is that customer experiencing? Most people aren't going one site comparing the speed, going to the next site comparing the speed and going, okay, I'll go with the faster one. It's just not the way people shop, generally speaking. SEO is different, but customer experience and conversions, that's not the way it works.
You know what I love about that answer you guys just gave? That was the longest, most fulfilling answer for somebody that said, I don't know the answer.
Well, it is what it is. What can you say?
Yeah, no, that's great. Let's do one more. We got time for one more. And this one may be a little easier to answer if we knew the category or the product type, but I'll throw it your way anyways. It's about campaigns. As a small business, how should a merchant monitor results of a campaign online before implementing changes? How long should a merchant monitor results on a campaign online before implementing changes?
Go ahead, Chris. I'll let you spit on that one first.
I think that this is a terrible preamble. It depends, but the reason why I say it depends on the frequency of the purchase. It depends on the volume of the purchases. If you are trying to sell shirts or hats or some merchandise, and you're selling 100 shirts a day, right? And you're getting 10,000 visitors a day coming to your website, you get a lot of data very quickly. So it's a little bit easier to make changes even week to week, to try to tinker and tweak, because if 1%, 2% optimization matters to your business in terms of real volume, and that tinkering really helps you, tinker away. For us, or if you're Chris mentioned a luxury brand before, cycles are a little bit longer, purchase considerations a lot longer, research is longer, price is higher. It does no good to change your website every month because you don't have enough data and volume to make an informed decision. That's my perspective.
I agree. Most people tinker too much too soon. You see them, they run an ad, 2 days later they want to change it, and they don't have enough of a sample size to make a decision. They add something to their website, and a day later they add something else to it. Well, now they don't really have any idea of what effect either one really had. You really have to give it some time, and it's going to vary on the business, on the traffic to the site, on sample size, and how many products, and how many customers, and very much on the brand and type of product you're selling as well, and how people will move through that funnel, how quickly they'll move through that funnel a little bit. I would always say to err on the side of being overly cautious, better to take a little long rather than move too quickly. That being said, don't wait 6 months to make a change, and if something's not working right and you have enough information, don't be afraid to make that change. But 2 days, 3 days, and almost anything is not going to be enough time. You're going to have to step back, look at the analytics, consider how much information you really have, and weigh that. Is this enough information to make me feel comfortable making this change?
Great answer.
I'm going to come back in here and join you guys here and close out. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Chris, awesome job. Appreciate you guys sharing the wisdom. I learned a lot today. I hope everybody enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. So thank you for being here and thank you for sharing. Folks, before we close out, I'd like to take a moment to invite you to join our next episode of PDMI Take 20, hosted August 4th, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about how shoppable TV is stepping into the spotlight. Also, I'd like to mention a little bit about the expo coming up as well. We look forward to seeing you in San Diego, October 4th through 6th at PDMI West. For more information on registration and or housing, please visit thepdmi.com/PDMI-West. That's thepdmi.com/PDMI-West. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Awesome job, Chris. Awesome job, Chris. And make it a great day, everyone. All the best.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.